Hey everyone, it's Dave from Dave's Ohio Barbecue. Today I am going to take a Coors keg like this and turn it into a wood-fired pizza oven. Stick around. So my family and I, we really like wood-fired pizza, and I've been looking for a way to turn my Weber Kettle into a wood-fired pizza oven. There's accessories you can buy. There's the Kettle Pizza, which is really awesome, and I've looked at it. Problem is, I really am not in the market to buy a $500 accessory that I'm going to use maybe 4 or 5 times a year. It just doesn't seem cost effective. And to get all the bells and whistles that I'd want, it would cost around $4.99 basically to buy it. I've seen some videos online of guys making rings that go onto their Weber out of old barrels. I've seen guys making rings out of like metal roof flashing. I've even seen guys taking the actual lid of their Weber Kettle and cutting a pizza door into it. Now, I didn't want to do that because I'm not about to, destroy the lid to my kettle like that. And those other options, the barrel and the roof flashing, I get concerned about those because if your pizza oven is working correctly, it's going to be up around between 600 800 degrees. And I'm not 100% sure that those metals were intended to be food safe. And if you have something that's galvanized, it might be fine at 200-300 degrees in a smoker. But if you bring it up to 800 degrees, it's going to start putting off gases and things like that. So I didn't want to mess around with that. I decided I'm going to build a ring out of stainless steel. So I started looking around trying to figure out what everyday things are made of stainless steel that I can kind of find and repurpose. And it dawned on me, beer kegs. Beer kegs are made of stainless steel, and they're food safe because there's beer in them. The problem is getting a keg can be difficult. You could buy a keg full of beer, drink the beer, and then not return it to the distributor, but that's illegal, and so I didn't really want to break the law. So I did a couple of Facebook posts, and it ends up one of my good friends, his brother works for a major distributor, and every so often they get back a keg that isn't theirs. It's from a different manufacturer or different brewer of beer. Usually with those, he said they crush them and they send them off to be recycled, but he told me he could grab me one, so he did. And this is what I got. I got this Coors keg. I knew right off the bat that the keg wasn't wide enough to fit on my Weber Kettle. You need it to be about a 21-inch diameter to fit within the Weber Kettle. This keg was about 17 and a half inches, so there would have been a big gap all around the circumference of it that would have let heat out, and it just wouldn't have worked. So my original thought was, well, what if I cut it up into cylinders and kind of try to stretch those cylinders out and weld another piece of metal in there and make it more closer to 21 inch of circumference. After a little bit of trial and error, I quickly realized that this metal has severe memory, and anytime you try to change the shape of it, it snaps back and almost, chops your fingers off with sharp edges of metal. So that didn't work. So I took my 2 cylinders, my 2 rings that I cut up, and I decided to just kind of cut them into little 4 or 5 inch wide sections. And I'm going to build this thing kind of like shingles. I'm going to overlap little panels of metal and weld them together. After I cut these cylinders up into segments, I needed to clean them first because you really shouldn't be welding things that are dirty. And this keg has some oxidation on it. You can see it's not very super shiny. So I bought what's called a flap disc. It's basically a bunch of little pieces of sandpaper in the shape of a disc from Harbor Freight. It was about $4. And I just went all over every surface to make sure that this thing was nice and shiny, clean, got rid of all the oxidation, so I had a nice surface to weld to. So first thing I did was I found a piece of plywood. I cut it into the 21-inch circumference. And then with the 2 front pieces of metal, the ones that are going to be on either side of the opening for the pizza oven, I drilled a couple holes in the bottom of those 2 pieces and just screwed them to the metal so they would be stationary. And then I just started working my way around. I would put a piece of metal up against that, I'd weld it. Now, as you're watching this, please note, and please don't tell me in the comments because I don't want to hear it, my welding skills suck. I understand that. I can't weld worth a crap. I have a not so great Harbor Freight welder Plus, I never learned how to weld. I watched a couple YouTube videos, so as long as it holds, I don't care. That's also the reason why I'm putting these welds on the inside of this pizza oven. From the outside, it's going to look pretty sweet. From the inside, if you start examining it, it's butt ugly. So I took these panels, I started welding them all the way around till I got to the back, and that gave me the diameter I needed. I want the pizza stone to remain square because it wouldn't fit in there very well. So what I did was I took it outside, took my angle grinder with a ceramic cutting bit on it, basically meant for cutting tiles and things like that, and I cut a curve along the front just so it fits in a little nicer with the front of the Weber Kettle. I wanted to build sort of like a lid or a sheet of metal that's going to go kind of right on top of this pizza oven to keep the flames over the pizza. See, if I just put the lid on top of the ring, that would have added another, 5 or 6 inches, and the flames would have been up pretty high. They would have by that time been up probably 10 inches above the pizza, and it wouldn't be that nice, like, wood-fired flavor that I'm looking for. So I wanted something to kind of curve the flame right over top of the pizza so it'll melt the cheese and get it, that nice bubbly crust really quick. So when I was looking at the leftover pieces, I noticed that I still had the top and the bottom of the keg, which already have this nice sort of semi-spherical shape to them. So I cut out the bottom, leaving a little section of it as a handle. I cut out as much of the top as I could. Remember, it's got the connection for the beer tap, so that's kind of unusable, but I got enough to get a couple big chunks off of there as well. And using that and some other scraps, I welded it together to make this sort of weird Captain America shield that's going to fit down inside of the pizza ring. I don't really want this shield that I made to go right on top because that would still be kind of high and it didn't really fit that well. I wanted the back edge of it to be down low near where the pizza ring meets the Weber Kettle, and then I wanted it to sort of angle upward towards the front so that it was above the opening where you slide the pizza in. So what do you do if you don't have a welder? Well, I was looking around, and you can actually take some self-tapping sheet metal screws and kind of screw these pieces together. It would be a little bit trickier, probably wouldn't work as well, but you could get some decent results. So now that I've got this thing all done, welded together, I've got my deflector, my little deflector shield built as well, I'm gonna give it a test run. And if it works, I've got a lump of store-bought pizza dough in the fridge. I'm gonna test it out, try it on a couple pizzas. So first thing I did was I took about a half chimney of charcoal briquettes. So once the charcoal is ashed over, I'm gonna dump it in the back section of my Weber Kettle. And then on top of that, I'm gonna pile the little splits of logs I have to start building up a big fire. Now I wanna have a nice base of hot coals, but I also wanna have some flame coming off of the logs as well. I put the grill grate down and then I'm going to put the pizza stone on. I still have those 4 scraps of pizza stone that I cut off when I cut that arch before. So I use those in the corners to kind of raise the grill grate up. One of the problems that I'm going to have with this pizza oven is the grate, the grill grate that comes with the Weber. It's a solid, 1.5 inches lower than the rim of the kettle, and it makes it hard to kind of get the pizza stone at the right level. It's actually lower than the edge, so I'm gonna have to, you can't really get a real straight scoop on your pizza using a pizza peel. You can't really get it to slide in real straight. So that's something I'm gonna have to fix in the future, and I think I know how. So to help solve the problem, what I'm gonna do is, I've got this grill grate, which a neighbor of mine was getting rid of. It's actually from like a grill that goes on basically goes on a stick like this. And it's thicker. It's got 2 rims, it's about 1 inch thick. And if I take that, just about fits nicely in there. If I take that and put the same supports I had from before and the pizza stone, you can see now there's a lot less of a lip. There's just maybe 1/4 inch there, whereas before there was a solid inch. All I did was just cut the back of this out so I could keep feeding wood through there if I need to. Once I've got the pizza stone on, I'm going to put the ring on, and then I'm going to put the deflector shield in place so that it's all situated so it can start heating up. Make sure you have the vents on the bottom of your kettle open wide, and then also have the vent on the lid open wide as well. You want as much airflow as you can. You really want these flames to go up and kind of right over top of the pizza, so airflow is important. So I put 2 thermometers in there to gauge the temperature. The highest temperature that these thermometers will read is, I think, 600 degrees, and they were both maxed out over that. In fact, one of the probes on my thermometer got so hot that it actually started melting. There was a little rubber section of it, and that rubber started like bubbling up and oozing. So if you plan on using one of your smoker thermometers, those are really only designed to go up to about maybe 600 degrees maximum, some of them even 500 degrees. You may run the risk of destroying your thermometer. Still works, it just looks really funky now. So here I just rolled out a simple dough. All it is just cheese sauce and dough. There's nothing special about this pizza. I didn't make the dough, no recipe involved in this. But I'm going to put it in and see how fast I can get a pizza out of it. The pizza immediately started bubbling up. The video is not very good because of the differences in light and dark. I didn't really plan on filming this portion. But these pizzas took about 2 minutes to cook, and they were delicious. The nice charred taste on the crust. The cheese was perfectly brown. This thing is awesome. I can't wait to play with it more. What would I do differently about this? At first I thought the keg with the weird belly in the middle was going to cause a problem, but I actually kind of like the way it turned out, because that belly is right above the rim of the kettle, and it works almost like I don't know, like a archer deflector itself to kind of make the flames kind of start curving around to go over top of the pizza. So that ended up working pretty well. Would I recommend that you go through all this that I just did? If you like tinkering and you like making stuff yourself, and you have access to a crappy welder and at least the same sucky welding skills that I have, then yes, build it. It was fun. When friends come over and we make wood-fired pizza, they all ask about it, and I can tell them, you know, stories of me being an idiot in the garage making this thing. If you're not into that sort of stuff, just buy the kettle pizza. The kettle pizza is awesome. Every review I read and all my friends that I know that have one say the thing works perfectly. So save up some money and buy that if you're not into messing around in the garage. How much did this thing end up costing? Overall, it was under 50 bucks, I think. The keg was free from a friend, so that was a big plus right there. I had to spend $35 for the spool of stainless steel welding wire for my MIG welder. So that's $35. About $3 on screws and nuts and washers and stuff like that. And then another $4 for that sanding, that flap disc that I got from Harbor Freight. All of that totaled up. We've got about $42. That's not bad for what you get. So the finishing touch that I put on this smoker was a friend of mine had commented that the smoker kind of looked like Bender from Futurama, the old cartoon show. So for the last thing I did was I put a little head of a Bender on there. So now I'm going to call this thing the Bender Pizza Oven. Thought it was fitting. As always, thanks for watching. Please make sure you subscribe to my channel. If you have a friend that you think would like this channel, tell them about it. I need subscribers. Also, make sure you follow me on social media, Twitter and Instagram. Dave's Ohio Barbecue at both of those. And then check back soon because I'm going to have some more videos coming out really, really soon. I really appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.